Okay, so at the time of making this video, it's all but expected that the Edmonton Oilers will hire Stan Bowman in some sort of managerial or advisor role. Likely GM, but might be a senior advisor with them hiring Mark Hunter or somebody else as GM. And of course it had to be Edmonton. I don't know why, GMs and the Edmonton Oilers is such a difficult pairing, but it just feels like for the entirety of my life, that specific role, they've just struggled finding some solid, competent manager to kind of take reign at. And here we are again, this time with somebody who's at the helm of a hockey team who one of his own staff members was sexually assaulting one of their players. And, I think from what I recall, the investigation between like Brooke and Jenner, I have to correct me on the naming, but I think what came out of it is that he and Quenville and other management knew of the assault that was happening, and they opted to wait until after the Stanley Cup run to do anything to Aldridge to penalize him, terminate him, whatever. So the fact that they knew what was happening under their watch is already red flag enough. And I understand the NHL putting out their statement saying these men have gone through whatever remorse and whatever fucking this and that, and are at a point where we feel they can be reinstated in some sort of capacity in the NHL. I get that they fucking said their shit. And Sheldon Kennedy, former sexual assault victim too, he actually had put out a pretty lengthy letter. I recommend that you read it. And he also went on to talk about his experience with Stan Bowman. It was all good things, saying that they didn't talk about hockey at all. They didn't talk about either of their days in the NHL or in the world of hockey. They spent the entirety of their time talking about Kyle Beach and what Stan could have done differently back then and what he could do should something like that hopefully never happen or come up again. But in the event that crisis management has to take place, what he'd be able to do when another situation comes up and how he can handle that a fair bit better. So, he said some really, really great things about Stan Bowman, the person. But again, the fact that, as far as the investigation says, he knew what was happening under his watch, that's just hard to sit with. And a lot of this stuff is so much bigger than hockey. It's only been a couple of years, and he's already expected to be hired and probably paid very handsomely, considering who our owner is, to manage a hockey team that's on the cusp of a Stanley Cup. I'm sure I'll make a video on just the hockey moves that Stan Bowman's made, the good, the bad, the ugly. But the immediate, the more talk that's coming around, it sounds like it's likely. It sounds like there's some backing to this, that they'll be making that announcement with Stan Bowman joining the team in some sort of managerial or leadership capacity. This is just the instant I don't like it sort of reaction, and it's gonna take probably a mountain and then some for me and I think a lot of other people to earn their trust. And this isn't just on Stan Bowman at this point. This is on the Edmonton Oilers. This is on Daryl Cates and Jeff Jackson and fucking how does Bob Nicholson still have a job? This is on the entire brass. And fuck man, you've broken our trust so many times in that decade of darkness. And just when things are starting to, come back out, just when this team is going on a 5-year playoff berth window, just when this team is starting to go on the upswing, when we're making a flurry of great transactions and moves over the month of July after dropping Game 7 by a goal to tie it and 2 goals to win it, then you just take a million steps back with something like this, and it's just, man, it's becoming exhausting how often this has to happen, where there's just something that Edmonton just can't seem to do right. I don't want to be known as a team. I mean, I do want to be known as a team of second chances. I think that's a beautiful thing. But with something like this, it's just, it's tough because, literally somebody's life was forever changed. When we're talking second chances, I mean, you signed a player to a bad contract, but you got out of it. You said some things in an emotional post-game interview, but, you worked through it with your team and with your group, whatever. When it's somebody's life that's being affected, and then you opt not to handle it, that's very childish, and that's some straight up bullshit. And I'm genuinely shocked, both and disappointed, both in the NHL and the Edmonton Oilers. Look, we'll have another video just going through his hockey moves, good, bad, ugly, like I said before. I'm going to leave it at that because this is just turning on into a big ramble. Let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the expected hiring of Stan Bowman to the Edmonton Oilers? Yeah, let me know down below.